Hello, welcome back to the Viva Natural Health podcast. In this episode, I am sharing the 12 things that I have learned, I have realized after coaching over 100 women over the past few years, what is actually going to work when it comes to hormonal health. What helps women, whether they're struggling with PCOS, PMS, endometriosis. They each have individual extra things that are needed, but there's some absolute foundations that are necessary regardless of the diagnosis. So if you're a woman, if you're in pre-menopausal years, so between 20 and 50, let's say, and you're struggling with your hormones or symptoms like weight gain, period problems, heaviness, acne breakouts, hair loss, this episode is for you. And I'm so excited. I've compiled this list. I've been in the industry for around 10 years now. I've coached hundreds of women, as I've said, whether it's through one-to-ones, group, my online courses. So that's a lot of research. And I've also studied quite a lot as well, but there's nothing better than actually seeing what works in real life versus in a research lab. So I've worked with real people, I've seen real results, and there are 12 key things that, regardless of what you're dealing with, you need to be focusing on. So if you don't already know, I've struggled with my own health journey, so this isn't me coming on here and I've no experience personally. I definitely have. I've struggled with pretty much every hormonal symptom that you can imagine at one time or another. I've had basically infertility, not having regular cycles, not bleeding at all, not ovulating, low progesterone, high estrogen, low estrogen, you name it, I've probably been there. The only thing I've not been through is menopause, and when that comes around, which is inevitable and something to be grateful for, then I will probably be preaching about that when I'm 60 years old. But right now, my area of speciality is the reproductive years. So let's get into point number one, which is one of the biggest things that people can often overlook is actually doing some tests and figuring out what's going on. We can just go based off our symptoms. We think because we're tired in the morning, we must have low cortisol. We think because we've got a puffy face and acne that we must have high cortisol. We think we must have high estrogen because we got breast tenderness and like PMS before our period starts, but it's not always the case, and you'd be surprised because some of my clients come to me and they're like, yeah, I definitely have this problem. We do a test, and it's actually the complete opposite problem that they had. And if they would have just gone based off the symptoms and what they've read online, the self-diagnosing, that can be problematic. It's worth trying some basic things on your own, but if you're getting to the point where it's getting a bit complex and you're on five different supplements and you don't know which one's for which and it's just getting a bit overwhelming, this is the time to check in. Or if you want to avoid all of that confusion in the first place, working with someone off the bat and having them run functional lab tests on you is a game changer. And it's the quality of things like supplements as well. So this is point number one, is investing in quality labs and supplements, figuring out what is going on in your body rather than throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. Let's see exactly on paper what you're deficient in, what hormones out of whack, because the point in the process that it starts to go out of whack in terms of hormone production is going to require a different protocol. And we need to see not only if you're deficient, but how deficient are you in something like zinc? Is it a mild deficiency that could be restored through a few weeks of boosting zinc-rich foods? Or is it quite a significant deficiency and you're going to have to be on quite a high strength supplement for 3 months? There are so many nuances and complexities when it comes to this stuff. So if you're just using ChatGPT to give you a list of supplements to take, you could potentially be making things worse. So those who have healed, who have overcome the hormonal issues, have likely, and the ones that I've worked with, have invested in high quality supplements and lab tests at one point or another. We don't have to be doing lab tests every week, but just checking in, especially while you're symptomatic, is going to be really helpful at just fine tuning what you need rather than just trial and error. And even long term now, I run my annual set of lab tests because I've been at rock bottom with my health and I really don't want to go back. So and trying to keep things as optimal as possible, keep things in a good place. That is such a better strategy rather than waiting for things to really go south before you start trying to intervene. It can just become more difficult at that stage. And with supplements, quality is everything, and it's it's really shocking to see what's out there on the market. There's supplement brands popping up left, right, and center, and the quality of them can be really terrible. And you probably can't recognize that if you're not trained to see what you're looking for. Some of these supplements, they put about 10 different ingredients in there, and it sounds good. It's good marketing. It's like, we've got this and that, and this helps your hormones, and these herbs are in there. But when you look, there's a sprinkle of each one, and how effective is that going to be, really? So we want therapeutic level, professional grade products. This means that you have to be working with a practitioner to access them. You can't just buy some brands online yourself because they're that powerful. You need to be monitored. You need to have someone giving you the right dosage and everything based on your body composition and all sorts of different things. So for me, it made a big difference in spending the money on the supplements. When it comes to gut healing and these deeper protocols, it can take a few more supplements. But now I have my rotation of a few things, and I'm so in touch with my body that I know what it needs. And when I work with clients, I teach them how to understand their body so that long term they can be their own best practitioner and they can guide themselves through some of the minor things. And then if they still need me, great, I'm here. But it's important to be educated on your body and also tune into your intuition and understand what your body's asking for. Number two is the people who have overcome their hormonal issues and they feel more balanced in terms of hormone health. They work on the blood sugar. They regulate the metabolic health, the glucose levels, the insulin levels, and there's different needs for different people. It depends on what's going on with your blood sugar. Is it too low? Is it too high? Most people that I work with, it tends to be that they lean more towards insulin resistance and high blood sugar, but just know that that can also come with blood sugar crashes. So if you're someone who experiences hypoglycemia and blood sugar drops, you could still be insulin resistant. It's not that you have low blood sugar necessarily. It could be that your body is struggling to process carbs and glucose and sugar, and then when it does start to get through, it overproduces insulin and that drops your blood sugar too quick. So it's like you're on a roller coaster rather than a nice flowing wave throughout the day. So in order to stabilize blood sugar, diet is a huge one. A standard recommendation is eating 3 meals a day, spaced 3 to 5 hours apart, and you want protein, carbs, and fat every time you're eating. So an example of that, let's say breakfast, you've got your protein from eggs, you've got some healthy fats already in that, or you can cook it within some butter. Carbohydrates, it might be a gluten-free sourdough toast or some fruit. That is a nice balanced meal. You've got your fiber, you've got your colours. For dinners, it might be some chicken thighs or chicken breast, a little bit of healthy fat, some avocado, some even on the side, some yogurt or something like that, cottage cheese, and then you've got your fiber as well with vegetables, carbohydrates. I do recommend gluten-free or low gluten for most people. So gluten-free carbs are things like potatoes and squash and quinoa, and you want to be doing that at least 3 times a day, having that standard 3 meals. But if you're really active or you've got blood sugar or adrenal issues, thyroid issues, you might need a couple of snacks in there. If you're working and then you're going straight to the gym, you might need to do a pre-workout snack, but it's not necessarily necessary for everyone. Some people do good on just the 3 meals, fasting between, good overnight fast, and they're good to go. But blood sugar is also influenced by way more than just your diet. So if you're doing all of that and maybe you're tracking your glucose with a glucose monitor and you're just getting really confused at that stage, if you play about with the carb tolerance and what types of proteins and fibers work best for you, do all of that. But if it's getting to the point where it's really just not making sense and you're really confused as to why your blood sugar is so haywire, it probably isn't the food, it's probably deeper things like mineral imbalances. For example, you need potassium in order to process glucose and use your blood sugar properly. You need things like magnesium and calcium to regulate that too. If your sleep is off, if you're sleep deprived, which is classed as anything under 6 hours a night, you're naturally going to be more insulin resistant. How much muscle are you carrying on your frame? If you're very under muscled and have this this metabolic issue because of that, then you're naturally going to be more insulin resistant or prone to blood sugar issues. So it is very holistic, and people just hyper focus on the carbs and end up just cutting out carbs, going ketogenic, and yes, your numbers might improve. I've also seen them not improve, they can get worse from doing that, and it's because the food wasn't the problem in their situation. Definitely can be if you're overdoing the carbs or you're not eating enough protein or fiber, that can throw off your blood sugar. But I'm working with people who are already doing the basics and it's just not having the effect that they're wanting. Number three is the people who overcame their health issues, like myself. We really worked on gut health. You might not have any digestive issues at all. You've never struggled with constipation. You have a daily bowel movement, no bloating, don't know what IBS is. You could still have really bad gut health. Some of the worst stool tests and gut health I've ever seen are from people with the least digestive issues. Instead, they have acne, they have brain fog, joint pain, autoimmune conditions, and it's just manifesting in a different way, not necessarily bloating and acid reflux. So don't rule it out if you don't have symptoms, but if you have symptoms, then it's very obvious that there's something going on in there. It could be that you have low levels of good bacteria, a yeast overgrowth, SIBO, small intestine bacterial overgrowth, parasite infections, low stomach acid. There's a lot of different issues that could go on in there. Leaky gut is a general term, but that's more of a symptom of one of these infections or overgrowths. And it just depends on what's going on with you. A skilled practitioner could gain a lot of insight into what's going on through your health history and through your symptoms. So if you tell me that your IBS and gut issues started when you went on holiday to Mexico and you got food poisoning, then I'm already suspecting parasites are a thing. Or if you tell me that you have a lot of sugar cravings and yeast infections and dandruff, then it's more likely to be candida at play. They can sometimes go together as well, very often actually go together. The treatment plan is going to look a little bit different, whether it is low stomach acid versus poor bile flow versus low levels of good bacteria. There are some general things that you can do to improve your gut. You can play around with your fiber intake. Some people do better on higher fiber versus lower fiber. If you have a lot of overgrowths and infections, that could just feed the bacteria that's in there and make it worse. So if you feel worse eating more fiber, that could be a sign something's going on in your gut, but you also do have to build it up. You can't just go from not really eating any to 25 different plants a day. You will feel gassy regardless of who you are, but fiber is super important at helping to feed the good bacteria. These are your immune system. They keep us healthy, they keep us resilient, but it might be that your needs shift as your gut gets healthier. I've been on quite low fiber diets for a while and it served me, but then for longevity and long-term health and diversifying my microbiome and having it be this really robust rainforest in there of bacteria and organisms, not all good. There's a 80-20 good and bad situation going on in there. That's completely normal. But if your gut is off, nothing else can function properly. You can end up recirculating your estrogen. There's a issue that can happen in the colon with this collection of bacteria called the estrobolome, and they interfere with the detoxification of estrogen. So once it's been used to build the uterine lining and all of its just day-to-day jobs, it needs to be cleared out of the body. But if you have a bacterial overgrowth and this estrobolome problem, it can interfere and you can end up just recirculating the estrogen back in. And the more times that it stays around, the longer it does, the more risk of hormone-dependent cancers there are, and just PMS, all of these different estrogen-dominant related conditions. We want to optimize our gut, but doing a stool test is a really good way, or something like an organic acid urine test. These are available through me as a practitioner when we work together one-to-one. You're going to see then what is going on rather than just guessing or wasting time. So if you've got the budget that allows testing can be Really effective. And what else for gut health? Avoiding things that damage the gut. So this is why I said gluten-free could be really beneficial, because this is one food compound that we've seen time and time again in studies to cause gut inflammation in everyone that's tested. But it just depends on how long that inflammation lasts for and what else is going on in the body as to how symptomatic they are. Some people have no obvious symptoms, and then people with gluten allergies, celiac disease, they have very obvious symptoms, but it could be something that's affecting you. So worth a try, worth a short-term elimination, along with some gut healing work. Because if you just introduce it back into the same body and you've not worked on strengthening your digestion, you're probably still going to be reactive to it. So that is optimizing gut health. Mindful eating is a big one. You're doing that multiple times a day, or should be. And if you're eating in a stressed state, if you're eating on the go, if you're wolfing things down between meetings, or if you're stressed about the food and how much canola oil's in there, you're just going to be not digesting that, and the blood flow is going to be moved away from the gut, and it's going to sit and rot and ferment in your digestive system. So mindful eating is across the board a recommendation that everyone needs to implement as much as possible. I know it's not always doable if you've got kids or you're working throughout the day, you're a teacher, but just do the best that you can when you're back at home. Number 4 is these people who successfully healed and now have clear skin and regular menstrual cycles and everything. They have supported the detoxification. This is what you need to do. You need to get things flowing internally. It's when there's stagnancy and there's blockages, this is where it breeds dis-ease. And think of a stagnant pond versus a flowing river. Which of those is going to have the most imbalances and struggles? It's the stagnancy. So when we get things moving internally, I'm talking your lymphatic system, your liver, your gallbladder, your bile, your bowels, definitely. They're the final exit route out of the body for these toxins, toxins that we internally produce, toxins that we're exposed to externally. There's just a lot going on. So when people say, we have a liver, why do we need to detox? That's true, but when we're now exposed to so many more chemicals and toxins than we used to be, and our liver requires nutrients. If you've ever Googled the liver detoxification system and look at the different phases, it will show you, or maybe put nutrients in there on a Google search, it'll show you all the different nutrients that are needed. So phase 1 is a lot of antioxidants and things like B vitamins. Phase 2, it requires amino acids and proteins. So going on a juice cleanse, you're really upregulating phase 1, but you're kind of stuck at phase 2 because you don't have enough protein and amino acids in a juice cleanse to get the toxins out. And that intermediate step between them is where people get trapped, and it can actually make them feel worse. So supporting the liver in a few different ways. Things like castor oil packs, coffee enemas can be great, certain herbs like dandelion, milk thistle, and the lymphatic system. I did a full episode on that. It's a really big one. It's one of my favorites though, with Dr. Perry Nicholson. And he shared, it's like a masterclass on the lymphatic system, and he teaches the Big Six lymphatic massage technique on there, which is completely free, things that you can do at home. And that is something that I do every day to just keep my lymph moving. And then the bowels, if you're constipated, you need to address that in however you need to. Upping your hydration, experimenting with your fiber intake, making sure you have a slower morning routine, making sure that you have enough magnesium on board and your minerals are balanced and you don't have thyroid issues. There is a lot to consider, but if you start supporting your liver but your bowels are blocked, then you are just stirring up toxins and there's nowhere for them to go. So there's a bit of an order to the process, but it is super important just to clear out some of the excess hormones that might be building up in the body, keeping our liver nice and healthy, and the liver is where a lot of hormones are made. I just want to check, are you addressing the healing foundations? Not sure what I mean? Well, these are the important factors that I believe that you need to address in order to be in optimal health and overcome your stubborn health issues and symptoms, whether that's chronic digestive issues, acne, hair loss, period problems, weight gain, anxiety, fatigue. I could go on. Because I want as many of you as possible to have this life-changing information, I've bundled together 6 of my juiciest and info-packed masterclasses priced at just £111. Not only are you getting these recordings, which are between 60 and 90 minutes long each, on the following subjects: the power of the subconscious mind, stress, trauma, and the nervous system, supporting your female menstrual cycle, mastering your metabolism, optimizing sleep, gut health and detox. You're also going to receive my healthy groceries shopping list and my favorite non-toxic products guide, which are both usually reserved for my one-to-one clients. Whether you're brand new to the holistic healing world or you've been trying to work on things for a while but feel stuck, I can guarantee there's something within this content that will help you to understand your next steps and what you're missing. Sometimes it's something so foundational that's being overlooked. Get instant access to the Foundations bundle today for just £111 by clicking the link in the episode show notes, and I can't wait to hear about what you've learned. Grab your pen and paper to make notes and get started today. Number 5, these people have also understood and prioritized their sleep as much as possible. Understand that there's life situations that go on. Sometimes we can't get to bed at 9 o'clock. And if you struggle with your sleep, that might just seem impossible right now if you're currently going to bed at 2 a.m. But you would bring it back in incremental shifts and also look deeper what's going on with your sleep and your evening routine and your stress levels to why you can't sleep in the first place. But a really good time is 9:30, 10. I feel like that's pretty realistic for most people. A lot of the healing work physically happens before before midnight. So 10 till 12-ish, you're going to be healing a lot physically. And then after midnight, maybe 2 till 6 a.m., there's a lot of psychological healing and processing that's going on there. We dream during that time, we consolidate memories and information. So if you're trying to physically heal, you want to try and get these golden hours in before 12. And they believe in Chinese medicine, they're believed to be worth double. So get them locked in and you'll notice the difference. If you go to bed at 10, wake up at 6, get 8 hours then, it's very different than going to bed at 2 a.m. and getting up at 8 a.m. Is my maths 10 a.m. And next one is movement. This can also look different based on where you're at in your journey, but these people, they move daily. If you are really struggling with your health, your adrenals, your thyroid, chronic fatigue, chronic pain, it could just be that you're doing something like the big 6 lymphatic massage, you're doing a few arm movements above your head, you're walking, you're just going to the bottom of your street and back and building up. Perfect, absolutely fine. Or if it's that you're a bit later on into your journey and you can handle it, building some muscle and getting into some strength training is going to be one of the best things for everyone, but women in particular. It's so protective long term for our bone health, our metabolic health, our brain function, our blood sugar regulation, hormone health. There's a different spectrum though with it. You don't have to get into bodybuilding necessarily, but progressive overload and building some strength through stressing the muscles a little bit is what we need. But you would build up. I don't expect you to go from nothing to 5 days a week, an hour at a time and have this like workout split and protocol and everything. But you could start with some dumbbells at home or a kettlebell, even starting with Pilates and doing some body weight. But eventually we want to add some weight to that as well for some extra health benefits too. Just breaking down of the muscle, it causes them to regrow stronger. And you are working your muscles in Pilates and walking up hills, but it's just not the same. And the benefits, if you were to bottle the benefits of exercise and strength training, it would be the number 1 best-selling drug out there. There's just undeniable benefits that you can get from it. So movement in some way, maybe strength training 3 to 5 times a week, 30 minutes, 20 minutes, just not overdoing it, not underdoing it. It's a sweet spot. It can shift with your menstrual cycle. So I'm not going to give this exact protocol to follow, but what works for me at the moment is walking every single day for at least an hour. I try and get 10,000 steps. I've got a dog. I've got a walking pad on my desk in my office. Pilates twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week. And then strength training probably 3 to 5 times a week as well. So I haven't always been able to do this, but now this actually supports my body. But if I would have tried to do this 5 years ago, it would have been a disaster because I wasn't in the right physical shape for that and just very inflamed, chronic pain, hypermobility, all of that, histamine overload, and I couldn't tolerate it. But just don't get set on this is how I work out and this is how I eat and I can't shift it. It can fluctuate, it can change, and just go with the flow. But I found myself falling back into like a mindset of I can't push myself too much or I can't work out before my period because it's going to be bad for me and it's going to stress my body too much because if you didn't know, a lot of my health issues started with over-exercising. So I just don't want to trigger that again, but I'm in a completely different body now, a completely different headspace, and I can understand when I'm pushing it a bit too much, and I need to listen to my body. So I work around my menstrual cycle, push it a little bit harder around ovulation and after my period, dial it back a little bit, but also I don't use it as an excuse because I find myself doing that. Like, I'm 10 days before my period, I can't possibly go to the gym today, and it was just me being lazy, in all honesty. So move your body every single day and your hormones will thank you. Number 7 is to focus on nutrient density, not necessarily calories, although there is a place for calorie counting. If you are really struggling with your weight, you could just be eating too much. But we want to focus instead on what nutrients are you getting, how many minerals are you getting in a day. These superfoods that we're told about are green powders and fancy herbs and all sorts of things, but I think the real superfoods are eggs and liver and beef and raw milk and butter and eggs, seafood. We want to focus on those things rather than how many calories are in this like pack of crackers that have zero nutritional value. So centering your meals around animal protein for a lot of people, a nice serving of fish, some chicken, some lamb, some beef, diversify it, switch it up. Don't just be eating the same things over and over again. With your veggies and your plant foods, try to get them seasonal, local if possible, organic if that's available to you, and budget friendly and everything. But people just eat the same like chicken and broccoli and peas and rice on repeat, and they're getting no new nutrients or no diversity to the gut. So this is your reminders. We're heading into autumn and winter. There's some of my favorite veggies are coming up: Brussels sprouts, kabocha, squash, winter squash. Love it all. Parsnips, can't wait. And just those lovely, warming, nourishing, grounding foods. Are some of my favorites. You can Google nutrient dense foods lists if you want to, and just add more of those in and prioritizing that over the next new supplement. We should be getting the majority of our nutrients through food. Supplements should be the cherry on top of the cake. So if you're doing it different, where you're getting all of your multivitamins and B complexes in, but you're not eating well, you're doing it wrong and it's not going to be effective in the long run. Number 8 is that these women who have successfully balanced their hormones, they have likely shifted to a more non-toxic living situation. This can be a slow process. It can take years sometimes to finally clear out your makeup cabinet and your cleaning supplies and your pots and pans. And it doesn't even have to be perfect anyway. I've still got the lipstick that is toxic and I love it, and the perfume and that pan that I just can't get rid of, but it's maybe not the best. But as long as the majority of things are good, then it's better. It's an improvement. As soon as we step out of the front door, we're getting exposed to things, so we can't be too strict with it. We can't be perfectionists. I don't think it's even possible in the modern world, in all honesty. But just doing the things that you can, getting air filters, water filters, stop drinking tap water so much. If you're out at someone's house and they offer you water, then that's fine. But if you can make the changes the majority of the time, choose the healthier options, choose the organic, non-toxic cleaning products at the store, or order them online because sometimes they're not even available. It does all add up over time. So these little micro decisions: am I going to use the the toxic non-stick pan, or am I going to use my stainless steel one? And it might need a little bit more oil and care and attention, and it's like less easy to use than the other thing, but it's important for my health. Even organic produce, as I was saying before, do what you can, but if you're looking to optimize your health long term, these changes, like trying to eat more organically or even just seasonally, you're not going to see differences day to day. Like taking a new supplement, you could feel a difference within a couple of days, but it is something that long term, it all adds up, and it is something that you should be putting your money into, in my opinion, rather than supplements, prioritizing long-term organic food, high quality meats, those types of things, water filters, air filters, and then supplements are the extra little side booster if you need that. And the body just recognizes it so much more when it's from like nature's source. Number 9 is these people, they reconnect with nature. They get into the sun, they stop fearing the sun, they stop lathering the whole body in factor 50 every single day, they stop hiding away, just locking themselves indoors, watching TV. They're getting out there, they're learning to reconnect with circadian rhythms, the sun, the moon. They start to track the menstrual cycle and see, oh my God, it's actually synced to the full moon, and it's synced to my friends and co-workers. They also get connected to the ground. Earthing can be really helpful. They just understand that we are cyclical beings as women, and that not everything flourishes and is high energy and blooming all year round. So I had to learn that even in my business, there's going to be seasons where it's a little bit quieter. There's going to be seasons where it's busier. So in my menstrual cycle, times where I can push it a bit more with my work, with my exercise, and then times where I dial back. And it's just like nature. The plants bloom, they have all of their fruits, and then they go into like a hibernation state, and that's completely normal and natural. And we are part of nature as human beings. Number 10 is that we connect with our menstrual cycle. This has been one of the best things that I've ever done, coming off the pill, learning to work with my menstrual cycle rather than against it. So I know if I've got any trips planned up as we speak, I'll probably, on Wednesday actually, from when this goes live, I'm going on holiday to Lanzarote, and I booked it. It's pretty last minute, and then I realised I'm actually going to be starting my period a few days in, and that old me would have absolutely hated that because of how heavy my periods were and painful, and I just didn't feel confident. My skin would be breaking out, and now I'm like, oh, it's not ideal, but I'm going to be okay because I don't really feel a massive shift in symptoms. I feel some small things, and that's what we're going for. We're not going to feel the exact same all month long, but it shouldn't be this up and down. You feel like a different person every week. That's a sign that something's going on. So whenever you can, choose to go on the date or have the meeting around ovulation when you're going to be more extroverted and more social and you're going to communicate better versus when you are on your period and you just want to like go inward and watch TV and go to bed early. Do what you can with that. And if you're still on the pill, just know that there are risks involved with that. I know your doctor might not have told you, but just do your research. I've got plenty of episodes on hormone health and the birth control pill, so check those out. But trust me, when you get your hormones to a balanced place, if you're struggling with your hormones, this is the work that I'm doing with people. We can get you to the place, believe it or not, where you actually enjoy your menstrual cycle and you can see the clear differences between the weeks and you can just really appreciate it. It's one of my favorite things now to just track and be aware of, and I just feel so connected to my feminine energy and nature when I'm doing this. Before I was very suppressed and shut down and on this more masculine energy. Last couple now. Number 11 is these people who've managed to heal and have balanced hormones. They work on the stress and the nervous system, slowing down, having boundaries with people, cutting off people who are toxic in all honesty. They start to do more things that they enjoy and love. They signal to their brain and the body that they're safe. We can't be perfect with this either. We have to be realistic that stress is inevitable and that we have to show up to work, and we have these obligations, we have families, we have bills to pay, but can we have times where we focus on ourselves and self-care? And that doesn't have to look like bubble baths. That can be, I'm going to the gym because I know this is going to be good for my health. That is self-care, even if you feel a bit tired. There's a balance between listening to your body, but also discipline, and that, yeah, just learning to know what the point is for you, where it's a bit like, oh, this is gonna cause some symptoms if I do push through because I'm actually very tired, versus is this me procrastinating and just being lazy and needing to just get out the door, and within 5 minutes I'll I'll be so happy that I came to the gym. So whatever way that works for you, whatever way helps you to manage stress, ideally something that's not on your phone. We don't want to be just scrolling on social media and numbing out. That's not really stress management that I'm talking about. I'm talking about going outside, going on a walk, listening to some music, chatting with your partner, painting, colouring, dancing. Choose what works for you and do more of that, and understand that it's about this balance and the resiliency to stress so you can bounce back. And when we don't want to be afraid of stress, we've got to where we are in human existence today because of a lot of stress, but it's about just managing and taking the things off your plate that you do have control over, controlling the controllables, and leaving the rest, and just making your body as resilient as possible so that it can handle stress when it comes our way. And last but not least, working on your emotions, your energy, any subconscious blocks and barriers. This can be really, really helpful for those women who are doing all the physical things and they're feeling a little bit stuck. It can get to the point where we start to explore the emotional, the energetic side of things with period problems and PCOS. I'll just give a few examples with conditions like endometriosis. It can be related to a lack of creativity, lack of expression, wounds around the relationship with the feminine or your mother or women in your life, feeling betrayed or feeling anger and resentment to those people. With PCOS, it can be a more masculine energy state. So women tend to be, and I can speak from experience because I have a PCOS diagnosis, more goal-getters, type A, perfectionist. The way that we work out and work is very like driven, and that can be common in women with PCOS. It's a chicken or egg situation though. Is it the hormone imbalance that causes that, or is it that causes the hormone imbalance? Maybe a bit of both. Um, with PMS, when things come up in that week before your period, maybe you get really emotional or angry about things. Those are probably things that you need to address. And I know it might be exaggerated, but your body's trying to tell you something. So if you get really emotional about your relationship or something at work or something about your life around that time, make a note of it. And you don't need to do anything about it just then. Come back to it when you're a bit more rational in the other parts of your cycle, but just know that that's your body trying to tell you something, and it's coming to the surface during that time because you're in a more vulnerable state. And if you deep down believe that periods are meant to be painful and it's the monthly curse and it's gross and it's something that should be hidden and something that you're a bit ashamed about, starting to rewire that can actually help you to experience better cycles too, along with the physical work. Not denying that that's important, but there is this small subset of people. I think there's this in everyone, to be honest, but in those of you, maybe it's you listening, who you're like, I do the castor oil packs, I'm in bed by 10 p.m, I eat protein, I'm taking my magnesium, what else can I do? Really looking at the energetic, emotional, subconscious side of things with your symptoms, whether it's period stuff or not, hormone stuff or not. And it's a really fascinating world. I've done episodes at the beginning of this year more about the subconscious, so you can go back to the start of 2025 and learn more. And on my website, there's some free downloads, and one of them is my it's a little mini course on mind body healing and the subconscious, and there's an EFT session, a meditation in there, and a bit more information about this so you can get instant access. I'll put all the links in the episode show notes for today. If you want to work together, if you want to access some of these lab tests, supplements, and this whole body holistic approach to healing, then my Restoring Energy program is going to be an amazing fit, 6 months one-to-one support. I will potentially also be doing in September, so not long, a group program, but stay tuned on that. I'm just trying to figure out the best dates and times and everything, but a 3-month group program might be launching in September. So keep your eyes peeled. You can sign up to my email newsletter. That's where I will be sending the information and the links first. So follow that. Let me know if you've got any questions. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Be sure to share this with anyone who is struggling, who might need some help at the moment, and I'll see you back here next week for another episode.